What if I told you there's a force quietly shaping the way your YouTube channel grows? A force that explains why only a handful of your videos carry your entire channel's results, while the rest hardly make a difference at all. And what if I told you that this same invisible force shows up in sports, in the economy, and even in our healthcare system? And most creators don't even know it exists. So today I'm going to show you what this rule is, some real-world examples, and how it's been shaping my YouTube channel from the very beginning. And by the end, I'll show you a simple way to check if it's doing the same for yours and what you can do about it. But first, what is this rule? So that weird uneven growth pattern that you see on your YouTube channel, well, it's not luck. It's actually math. You see, there's a principle underneath all of this that shows up everywhere in life, and it's called the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto principle. And the idea is simple. It states that a small number of inputs creates a disproportionate amount of the output. In other words, just 20% of the work that we do often leads to 80% of the results. And once you understand it, everything on YouTube starts to make a lot more sense. So let me show you what this looks like in real life. Now, one of the clearest places that this rule shows up is in wealth distribution. And when we look at decades of data from the Federal Reserve, we see the same shape over and over again. About 20% of US households hold 80 to 90% of the nation's wealth, and that ratio barely moves, not in booms or recessions, and not even across political or economic cycles. And then in healthcare, we see something eerily similar. According to almost 30 years of data from the Department of Health and Human Services, just 20% of patients account for 80% of all healthcare costs. And then when we look across sports, a 2020 analysis in the Global Sports Business Journal examined nearly 40 seasons of NBA history. So every point, every rebound, every assist recorded from 1979 to 2018. And when researchers totaled everything up, they found that the top 20% of players produced roughly 70% of all the measurable output across those key stats. So, between the economy, healthcare, and professional sports, these are three completely unrelated systems, but they all share the same pattern. By now, you might be asking, what does any of this have to do with YouTube? And so I'll just show you using an example from my own channel. So this is my lifetime data across 108 long-form videos. Would you be surprised to know that just 18 of my 108 videos account for 80% of all of the views on my channel? That's roughly 17% of all the videos that I posted since I started. For watch time hours, same story, also 17%. For AdSense earnings, just 14 of my 108 videos account for 80% of all of my earnings. That's only 13% of all the videos I've posted. For subscribers, it's even fewer. Just 10 videos account for 80% of all of my subscribers, and that's less than 10% of my total videos posted. And finally, impressions. 25 of my 108 account for 80% of the total impressions, which is right around 23% of all my videos. So think about this for a second. Now, not all of these are perfect examples of the 80-20 rule in play, but 3 of the 5 are actually quite close, just a few percentage points above or below. So what does all this mean? And how can we check to see if it's in play for your YouTube channel? First, there are 2 big lessons here. And lesson 1 is that for many creators, only a small handful of your videos will account for the majority of your entire channel's results. And that's completely normal. But if 20% of your videos carry 80% of your results, that means 4 out of 5 uploads will barely make a difference. And that can be hard to swallow. So how do we stay the course, knowing that 80% of our uploads will barely move the needle? The answer is, you order up a full plate of patience with a side of resilience. Because we're not actually trying to make every video pop. We're simply trying to reach that one person who absolutely needs to hear from us. And when we keep our viewer top of mind by asking, who can I help this week and what problem can I solve? Suddenly that miserable 80% starts to become manageable. And remember that each failed video is giving us much needed practice to build up to that one video that will set things off, all while building a robust back catalog that becomes the foundation of our channel for years to come. Lesson 2 is this: 80% of the things you spend your time on don't actually move your channel forward. And this is why focus is so important. If you want to grow faster, you need clarity on what actually drives results. So start with a mini time audit. Write down everything you touch. Creating content, replying to comments, posting to Instagram, scrolling through shorts, even doing keyword research. And then ask yourself, does this task genuinely move the channel forward, or does it simply feel productive? For most creators, the highest leverage activities include choosing the right topics, writing compelling hooks, and workshopping titles and thumbnails. Because if your goal is to grow on YouTube, then everything else becomes secondary and should either be cut or automated. And if you can remove yourself from the 80% of busy work that feels productive but actually isn't, that means more time can be spent on the things that actually make a difference. And if you want more on this topic, I highly recommend you check out the book The One Thing by Gary Keller. There is a link in the description. So now that we know how to think about the Pareto principle, the next question is, how do we determine if it's in play for our own YouTube channel? Well, here's how to check. Open up YouTube Studio. On the left, go into Analytics and then See More. Filter to Lifetime and then come down here and look for Content and then Videos. This will filter to just your long form content. Then on the top right, look for the Export Current View button and then download it as an Excel file. Drop that file into ChatGPT and run the prompt in the description below. Now, if you're using the ChatGPT Atlas browser like I am, you can simply open it in Google Sheets and then include the prompt here in the chat on the right side. Now, once you run this test for your own channel, let me know in the comments below if the Pareto principle is in play for your channel. I'd be curious to know what percentage of your YouTube videos are contributing to 80% of your channel's results. And does this inform your creative process or content strategy in any way? And if you're looking to gain more traction on your YouTube channel and you want to connect with me and a network of hardworking midlife content creators, join us in the Midlife Creator community. There's a link in the description below. And with that, I'll let you guys go and have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.